Good afternoon, everyone. Such a pleasure to be here, and what an honor to represent all the good work of the F5 team. So the topic is cloud strategy, F5 cloud strategy. And as we both, all of us, embark together on this cloudy journey ahead, pardon the cliche, I'm going to take the next 19 minutes to provide clarity on what F5 is doing, what F5 is working on to help you navigate through a very cloudy world. So our strategy, our roadmap, our vision is based on a lot of input we have received from all of you, our customer partners, channel partners, analyst partners, detailed marketing research we have done, and our own observation on the market trends that we are seeing. So let's look at them. So let's look at the application trends that play into what we are focused on. In the last quarterly earnings, Jeff Bezos announced that Amazon Web Services are now on a $10 billion annualized run rate in terms of revenue. Google and Microsoft announced 100% revenue growth in the last quarter. So public cloud is happening. Perhaps less talked about, but equally strategically important, is the private cloud focus, where many of you are looking at bringing cloud attributes inside your data center. IDC reported that the shift from your on-premise data center to co-located centers is at about a 35% annualized growth rate. So if you look at F5 itself, even for us in our IT department, we have about 50% of our infrastructure in three Equinix data centers. Plus, we have other footprints elsewhere. But perhaps really important about cloud is what Morgan Stanley has reported recently and what is borne by our own survey, which we undertook last year, that 70 to 80% of CIOs contacted, 71% to be very precise in the Morgan Stanley survey, have said that their reality is going to be hybrid. And hybrid implies a footprint in your on-premise data center, footprint in co-located environments, public clouds, sort of a mix of all. So clearly, this whole shift of workloads is impacting what we have to focus on and the application services we have to deliver to you. The second big focus is on DevOps. Now, DevOps adoption is perhaps most, if not all of you know in the group here, that DevOps really is the term being used for the last 5+ years. It represents this whole shift towards agile development, a combination of development plus operations to give you DevOps. So agility is name of the game, where you really essentially deconstruct application development from a monolithic model to one where you use different components, open source, and really speed to delivery is the primary driving factor. But the more important thing is for many of you here who are in NetOps and focused on network operations, many of this DevOps activity and adoption is taking place, in some cases independent of NetOps, in many cases independently, and NetOps and the DevOps focus, they also are actually very, they tend to use the public cloud a lot, essentially for pre-production development, and then bring it back to an on-prem deployment for a prod development, depending on the application type we are talking about. And Gartner calls these islands. So in Gartner's view, that the whole shift to DevOps is creating these islands where you have established IT that wants predictability, scale, performance, and then an island of DevOps which wants agility, and Gartner uses the term Mode 1 and Mode 2 IT. You've perhaps heard this term. And the third shift that is really impacting what we have to focus on is a whole technology shift, right? If you really look at what is happening is it's an offload. We talk in the ADC terms, we talk about an SSL offload, and now we have just a broad portfolio of technologies that are offloading aspects of application development, areas that app developers had to take care of earlier, right? Could be cluster management with Kubernetes, orchestration with the Mesos Marathon environment, Could be configuration management, leveraging Ansible, Puppet, and Chef. So we have to work with these newer technologies which are emerging and gaining wide acceptance as app developers move towards an environment of scalable software and building scale in the application itself. So what's happening as a result of all these trends is essentially, an environment where we started off, right? You think about even if you go back 10 years, you have all the applications in a data center. You have north-south traffic. It comes in through your switching routing infrastructure, goes through an ADC, and your application is right there. And what's happened right now? There's the perimeter. If cloud is the perimeter, this is a reality for a number of you. We are in constant conversations with our customers here. And you likely have an on-prem presence, of course. You might be looking at OpenStack as an example for moving to private cloud. You've got a co-located environment in Equinix or any other provider, managed service provider, could be Rackspace, AWS, Azure. So think about it. You went from an environment of full control. Your applications are now sitting on infrastructure you don't own, you don't control, in an operations model over which you have limited control. So what is it? What's the implication here? So what are the challenges that this is causing, this distributed nature of the application workload? What you are telling us is you're concerned about security. There are some security capabilities available for sure in each cloud environment. You may have your own colo environment, but they're different. They are not exactly what you perhaps could call as the F5 grade services. Poor visibility into application health. No centralized view on visibility and analytics. And above all is a cloud lock-in that is taking place as you integrate with the individual cloud APIs. Now, I'm sure many of you are thinking that if public cloud may not yet be strategic for some of you, or you may have an all data center presence, but if you see where the market is headed, you don't want to be locked in with one particular vendor. You want the ability to have portability. So our strategy and vision, the F5 strategy and vision, is centered around giving you the freedom to deploy any application anywhere with consistent application services and security. This is our North Star, and our roadmap, our strategy is focused on executing on this. So essentially what we are coming here and saying that not only are we embracing cloud, we want to be a cloud enabler for you. Go take the chances, move the application workloads where you need to, in an architecture you want to go to, at a time and pace you want to adopt. We will be a key enabler. We will come in as a strategic point of control for your application network services. That's our vision, that's our North Star. So let's look at the 3 areas we are focused on to execute on this vision. Public cloud, private cloud, and then a focus on unification and unifying these services. You know, one of your customers sitting here, and you asked me, please don't take my name, so I won't, said, F5, what I want you to be? I want you to be the front door to my applications. And I want the front door to move to where my applications move. So if we follow that analogy, you are moving your applications to AWS and Azure. When you land there, we want to be there. We are there. We've been in AWS for the past 2+ years. We've been in Azure for about a year. Our focus in sort of landing in these public cloud environments is twofold. Number one, we obviously have to integrate in that native environment, and we've done that, and we continue to improve our VE capabilities, whether it be in boot time in terms of the resources required. We are now focused on delivering CloudFormation templates in an AWS environment. And the second is to provide to you the richness of the F5 grade services that you are used to, and we are confident you like. But the world is not just Amazon and Microsoft Azure. There are other big providers as well, and our capabilities extend to these cloud providers as well, which you see on the screen. Keep in mind, folks, Amazon has about 31% market share in the public cloud provider space. Amazon, Microsoft, IBM, and Google together have 52%. And then if you add 20 more, which means 24 cloud providers have 80% of the worldwide market. So clearly we are focused on, where you are going is where we focus, and we do this through a program we call internally as the F5 Cloud Ready program. So along with this, it's not just that you are moving your workloads, you are changing your business practices and how you are buying. And we have to adopt to that too. So we are supporting your different buying methodologies on the marketplace in AWS. You want to use a utility service, a rental model, we support that. We support bring your own license. So you want to go to the 20 plus cloud providers, you carry your license with you and you can leverage VE, a big IP, in its entirety. And then we also support subscription models, particularly for on-premise deployments. So the transformation, which as we work together on this, is not just a product transformation, it's effectively a business transformation in how you want to buy and leverage these services. Now, as we look at this cloud environment with distributed workloads everywhere, think about it. Some of you who are fairly ahead in your journey have come back and said, you know what? It's a real pain for me to go and configure every service and every workload in multiple clouds and different clouds. F5, what can you do to make this easier? So we are creating, this is something we are working on in terms of the cloud proxy architecture in a public cloud environment. We have listened to you. We are creating the notion of a service center. We want to give you the ability to centralize these services and automate that, extend these F5 services to public cloud loads in an easy, automated, orchestrated way. And the way we will do this is we will be delivering, this is work in progress right now, we will be delivering a cloud proxy agent to sit in the public cloud environment. We'll create a reverse proxy tunnel, connect back to a big IP in a co-located environment, which typically would have a direct connect model, and extend these F5 grade services to these workloads. So let's step back, right? A very classic example could be an Equinix data center directly connected to AWS, essentially the public cloud edge. So you could look at a co-located environment where essentially your owned infrastructure meets the public cloud edge. So what's the advantage? I mean, what's the big deal here? Well, there are a number of things to think about. So first of all, it is centralized, it's easy, it's automated. We are taking the pain of trying to configure multiple services across multiple workloads. Faster time to service, pretty simple. Second, think about it. We are giving you portability, because what you are doing is you have moved the front door to the co-location environment, and you are now delivering these services centrally. So tomorrow you decide to change the cloud provider, doesn't matter. We just shift the big IP and tunnel into that cloud provider. You've created an abstraction layer. And there's a third advantage which has to do with security, right? There are many of you don't want your critical data, you don't want your cryptographic keys sitting in a public cloud environment where you can leave them on a big IP. So work in progress. We are delighted to talk more about this with you. And I think this is this helps both of us as customers and vendors here to move forward on executing on a vision to deliver you consistency of application services regardless of what provider you choose to use. Let's look at the second focus in terms of our cloud strategy that has to do with private cloud. I don't need to define to all of you here what's a private cloud, but a recap is okay. It's pretty simple. It's private, so the infrastructure is for one customer, and it's got cloud-like attributes. It's Pretty simple definition. These cloud-like attributes could be on a data center you own, or it could be on a co-located environment. It's still a private cloud because that hosted provider is giving you power and rack space, but you sort of own the infrastructure and it's designed for you. So our internal research, when we surveyed 3,000 customers last year, they said 81% said, listen, I've got a hybrid environment, and private cloud is a very strategic focus as part of that. But our belief at F5 is that 100% of you want a private cloud. Why? Because you want the private cloud attributes. It doesn't matter if you don't have a budget line item that says you have a private cloud or you've got any activity with OpenStack. You want the attributes of cloud, automation, orchestration, agility. So our focus here in the data center is to bring the cloud to a big IP, to bring the cloud to a VE. Number one, and then to integrate in private cloud environments. So essentially, if you recall, right, Gartner sort of communicates the focus of established IT for predictability, performance, and security, and DevOps who wants agility, automation, and orchestration. They present them as two islands. They are not islands. And F5's focus is to integrate them. You don't have to get performance and scale and compromise on agility and automation. It's a case of both. And we deliver both through our portfolio of products, which you are very familiar with. And you see there the big IPVE, our TMOS latest release was release 12.1. And the cloud attributes come from our focus on an orchestration product we delivered a couple of quarters ago called the iWorkflow Orchestrator. Our focus on giving you a single pane of glass through big IP, and essentially giving you a programmable templatized environment called IApps-LX. So with this being the goal, right, this is one aspect I said we want to bring the cloud to our products, but we also have to integrate and allow these services to be configured and orchestrated from environments that you're choosing to use. OpenStack is a very important one. We are very public, and we are fully behind OpenStack. In fact, we are delivering some leadership capabilities here, and we both demonstrated, and it's available today. We are natively orchestrated in an OpenStack environment. We support heat templates, and we give a LBAS plugin in a Neutron controller. By the way, from an open source perspective, in supporting open source activity, we have also contributed to the LBAS driver in an OpenStack environment. So what this allows you to do, right, is from an OpenStack controller, you can now configure big IP services. That's the benefit. And we are finding a lot of activity in different stages with respect to OpenStack. The second area that we have focused on the private cloud, actually the third, because I said we are bringing the cloud to you, integration in these private cloud environments, and our focus on programmability. You know, we've been talking to you, we've been talking to the DevOps community, and they've said, F5, we need you to support a modern programming language. We need you to better leverage open source availability and community packages available, and we've listened to you. And now with iRules, we integrate Node.js. It's pretty cool. You get access to, so meaning you might be thinking, okay, that's great, but sort of what do I do with it? Well, what you do with it is you have access. First of all, it's faster time to service. You have 250,000 open source Node.js packages you can use. So instead of writing, 50 tickle lines or a script with 50 lines or 500 lines, a couple of you who've written more than 1,000 lines of tickle scripting, you go make a call to a Node.js package. You want to tokenize the credit card number, you can go use a Node.js package. You want to go make a load balancing service call based on database read-write operations. You can go and make a Node.js call. So dramatically improves faster time to service. And here's the other benefit. It allows all of you many of you here who are in NetOps to potentially jointly work with DevOps, because this is the language that many of them are using. also allows us to extend the capabilities to a DevOps environment. And then the last point I want to make on the private cloud direction, right? Exactly what we are doing on the public cloud. In extending F5 services to public workloads, we are working on a similar project. This is directional in the private cloud environment. Your app developers are using these standard orchestration tools now. So what they are using, they are delivering containerized environments. Containerization has also taken off because it gives you portability across clouds. So this project which we are working on internally extends F5 services to a containerized Mesos Marathon environment. We will be delivering a plugin for a Marathon environment which will allow you to leverage that environment to configure big IP services. We will also be delivering a lightweight proxy for a containerized environment, so you can intercept east-west traffic, deliver basic load balancing services at that point, and for additional services required, you can punt the traffic back to a big IP. So what you are seeing is that now you can leverage a big IP with some of these products to extend the capabilities to these newer environments. We want to bridge these islands between established IT and DevOps. This is also work in progress. We can demonstrate this today, and availability is targeted for later in the year. And the third area of focus I mentioned as part of our cloud strategy, in addition to public cloud, private cloud, is focus on management, orchestration, and central analytics. BigIQ, I hope those of you who are using BigIQ are seeing some step function progress in the capabilities we are delivering. With the latest version of BigIQ 5.0, which we just delivered about 2 months ago, 6-8 weeks ago, yeah, we are now scaling to about 200,000 objects. I spoke about the iWorkflow orchestrator. View this iWorkflow orchestrator as an API gateway to the F5 products. The key focus is that it gives you a single point of orchestrating multiple big IPs or VE, and the focus is on delivering a services catalog which can be orchestrated for your workloads regardless of where they reside. And the third focus in driving this unification for you and delivering you consistency of visibility is analytics. You know, we have some very inherent advantages, architectural advantages as a proxy architecture. We have full visibility into a transaction, request from the user, response from the application. We collect upwards of 6,000 points of data inside one big IP or VE. So we are delivering some onboard capabilities like AVR today, but it's a significant area of focus for us in exposing this information to you, both from a visibility perspective and deriving intelligence and security analytics in particular, based on mapping what's happening with the user and the application. So stay tuned for that. And with that, you are now just about 22 minutes away from Mike Ditka. I want to just do a quick recap that we are looking forward to continuing through years ahead in this partnership that we have established together as we sort of walk through this cloudy journey with our focus on public cloud, private cloud, and unifying these app services for you. Thank you so much.